The Kingdom of Travancore was an Indian kingdom until 1949. It was ruled by the Travancore royal family from Padmanabhapuram, and later Thiruvananthapuram. At its zenith, the kingdom covered most of modern-day central and southern Kerala, as well as Kanyakumari, Tamil Nadu. The official flag of the state was red with a dexterally coiled silver conch shell, Tiruvananthapuram, at its center. In the early 19th century, the kingdom became a princely state of the British Empire, and the king was accorded a 21-gun salute locally and a 19-gun salute outside the kingdom. The Travancore government took many progressive steps on the socio-economic front, and during the reign of Maharaja Sri Chithira Thirunal Balramavarma, Travancore became the second most prosperous princely state in British India, with reputed achievements in education, political administration, public work and social reforms. Name: when the region was once part of the Tra Empire, it was known as Thiruvasamkode. It was contracted to Thiruvankode, and anglicized by the English to Travancore. In course of time, the or Ae kingdom, part of the Tra Empire, which ruled the Thiruvasamkode area, became independent, and the land was called Ae Desam or Ae Rajyam, meaning Ae territory. The Aes controlled the land from present-day Kollam district in the north, through Thiruvananthapuram district, all in Kerala, to the Kanyakumari district. There were two capitals, the major one at Kollam, Vinod Swarupam or Desinganadu, and a subsidiary one at Thripapur, Thripapur Swarupam or Nanjunad. The kingdom was thus also called Vinod. Kings of Vinod had, at various times, travelled from Kollam and built residential palaces in Thiruvathamkode and Kollam. Thiruvathamkode became the capital of the Thripapur Swarupam, and the country was referred to as Thiruvathamkode by Europeans even after the capital had been moved in 1601 to Padmanabhapuram, near Kollam. By the time of King Marthandavarma, the southern half of the kingdom had become dominant. During his reign, it absorbed the north, and Thiruvathamkode or Travancore became the official name. Travancore, Victoria, a suburb of Melbourne, Australia, is named after the state. Geography map of Travancore in 1871, Travancore, and Vinod, was located at the extreme southern tip of the Indian subcontinent. Geographically, Travancore was divided into three climatically distinct regions: the Eastern Highlands, rugged and cool mountainous terrain, the Central Midlands, rolling hills, and the Western Lowlands, coastal plains. Canal scene, Travancore administrative divisions. The princely state was subdivided into 4 divisions, each equivalent to a district of British India. Each of the divisions were administered by a Dompeshkar, who corresponds to a district collector of the British districts. The 4 divisions of Travancore were Kottayam, Quilon, Padmanabhapuram and Trivandrum. History of Travancore. Vinod Swarupam. Vinod was a former state at the tip of the Indian subcontinent, traditionally ruled by Rajas known as the Vinodadis. Till the end of the 11th century AD, it was a small principality in the Ae kingdom. The Aes were the earliest ruling dynasty in southern Kerala, who, at their zenith, ruled over a region from Nagercoil in the south to Thiruvalla in the north. Their capital during the first Sangam age was in Kudi, and later, towards the end of the 8th century AD, was at Kollam. Though a series of attacks by the resurgent Panchas between the 7th and 8th centuries caused the decline of the Aes, the dynasty was powerful till the beginning of the 10th century. When the Ae power diminished, Vinod became the southernmost principality of the Second Shah kingdom. An invasion of the Cholas into Vinod caused the destruction of Kollam in 1096. However, the Chna capital, Mahadayapuram, also fell in the subsequent Chola attack, which compelled the Chna king, Ramavarma Kulaiskara, to shift his capital to Kollam. Thus, Ramavarma Kulaiskara, the last emperor of the Chna dynasty, is probably the founder of the Vinod royal house, and the title of the Chna kings, Kulaiskara, was thenceforth kept by the rulers of Vinod. Thus the end of the second Chna dynasty in the 12th century marks the independence of Vinod. In the second half of the 12th century, two branches of the A dynasty, Thripapur and Chairava, merged in the Vinod family, which set up the tradition of designating the ruler of Vinod as Chairava Mupan and the heir apparent as Thripapur Mupan. While the Chairava Mupan had his residence at Kollam, the Thripapur Mupan resided at his palace in Thripapur, 9 miles north of Thiruvananthapuram, and was vested with the authority over the temples of Vinod kingdom, especially the Sri Padmanabhaswamy temple. Though Vinod had, on occasions, even fought with the Vijayanagar and Nayak kingdoms, towards the 1600s, the Nayaks had forced the kingdom to pay tribute. The feudal lords had then become too powerful and had a greater say in the running of the kingdom. Formation and development of Travancore. The history of Travancore began with Marthandavarma, who inherited the kingdom of Vinod, Thripapur, and expanded it into Travancore during his reign, 1729 to 1758. After defeating a union of feudal lords and establishing internal peace, he expanded the kingdom of Vinod through a series of military campaigns from Kanyakumari in the south to the borders of Kochi in the north during his 29-year rule. This led to war between the Dutch East India Company, who had been allied to some of these kingdoms, and Travancore. The Travancore-Dutch War, 1739 to 1753, is the earliest example of an Asian state overcoming a European power in war. In 1741, Travancore won the Battle of Kolakul against the Dutch East India Company, resulting in the complete eclipse of Dutch power in the region. In this battle, the admiral of the Dutch, Eustatius de Lannoy, was captured and later defected to Travancore. De Lannoy was appointed as senior admiral, Valaya, and he modernized the Travancore army by introducing firearms and artillery. Travancore became the most dominant state in the Kerala region by defeating the powerful Zamran of Calicut in the Battle of Purakkad. Ramyandalawa, the Prime Minister, 1737 to 1756, of Marthandavarma, also played an important role in this consolidation and expansion. On 3 January, 1750, 5 Mukaram, 925 Kalavarsham, Marthandavarma virtually dedicated Travancore to his tutelary deity Padmanabha, one of the aspects of the Hindu god Vishnu, with a lotus issuing from his navel on which Brahma sits. From then on, the rulers of Travancore ruled as the servants of Padmanabha, the Padmanabhadasans. At the Battle of Ambalapisa, Marthandavarma defeated the union of the kings who had been deposed and the king of the Cochin kingdom. The Mysore invasion, Marthandavarma's successor Karthikeyathirunal Ramavarma, 1758 to 1798, who was popularly known as Dharma Raja, shifted the capital in 1795 from Padmanabhapuram to Thiruvananthapuram. Dharma Raja's period is considered as a golden age in the history of Travancore. He not only retained the territorial gains of his predecessor Marthandavarma, but also improved and encouraged social development. He was greatly assisted by a very efficient administrator, Raja Kesvadas, who was the Don of Travancore. Travancore often allied with the English East India Company in military conflicts. During Dharma Raja's reign, Tipu Sultan, the de facto ruler of Mysore and the son of Hyder Ali, attacked Travancore in 1789 as a part of the Mysore invasion of Kerala. Dharma Raja had earlier refused to hand over the Hindu political refugees from the Mysore occupation of Malabar, who had been given asylum in Travancore. The Mysore army entered the Cochin Kingdom from Coimbatore in November 1789 and reached Trichy in December. On December 28, 1789, Tipu Sultan attacked the Nedumkota, northern lines, from the north, causing the Battle of the Nedumkota, 1789. The 6,000-strong Travancore army, a few trained in the European mode of warfare by Eustachius de Lannoy, but mostly fresh Nair warriors from collieries, local martial arts schools, held up the French-trained, war-hardened, ferocious 14,000-strong army of Tipu Sultan till April 1790, inflicting heavy casualties. Local legends state that following an ambush by a group of 20 commandos under Vaikom Padmanabh Pillai, the chief of Mysore army and Tipu's cousin, Kamaruddin Khan, was killed in the fighting and that Tipu himself got wounded and his personal effects captured by the Nars of the Travancore army. Tipu's army finally broke through the Nedumkota and reached the banks of the Periyar River but floods in the Periyar River. According to the local legends, the Travancore commanders, Vaikom Padmanabh Pillai and Kunji Kutty Pillai, blew up Buthathanketta Dam, about 30 kilometers upstream on Periyar, causing flash floods, prevented the Mysorean army from marching further south. The English East India Company now declared war on Mysore, the Third Anglo-Mysore War, in support of Travancore. Finding themselves unable to proceed further, on getting information that British forces were marching on his capital, Tipu and his army retreated back to Mysore. Though the Battle of the Nedumkota was tactically a Mysorean Pyrrhic victory, strategically Travancore had won, since the Mysorean army could not hold on to their hard-won conquests and had to retreat. Veluthempidalawa's rebellion. On Dharma Raja's death in 1798, Balramavarma, 1798–1810, the weakest ruler of the dynasty, took over crown at the age of 16. A treaty brought Travancore under East India Company protection in 1795. The prime ministers, Delawas or Dewans, started taking control of the kingdom beginning with Veluthempidalawa. Vilayudin Kampakaraman Thempi 1799–1809, who was appointed as the Divan following the dismissal of Jayanthan Sankaran Namboothiri, 1798–1799. Initially, Vilayudin Kampakaraman Thempi and the English East India Company got along very well. When a section of the Travancore army mutinied in 1805 against Veluthempidalawa, he sought refuge with the British resident and later used English East India Company troops to crush the mutiny. Veluthempi also played a key role in renegotiating a new treaty between Travancore and the English East India Company. However, the demands by the East India Company for the payment of compensation for their involvement in the Travancore-Mysore War, 1791, on behalf of Travancore, led to tension between the Don and the East India Company resident. Veluthempi and the Don of Cochin Kingdom, Palliathakan Govindan Menon, who was unhappy with the resident for granting asylum to his enemy Kunni Krishna Menon, declared war on the East India Company. The kings of both kingdoms, Travancore and Cochin, did not support the prime ministers openly. Initially, the armies of Veluthempidalawa and Palliathakan Govindan Menon were successful and on December 18, 1808 they stormed the resident's house in Cochin, though the resident and his friend Kunni Krishna Menon escaped. The situation changed when an assault on Cochin itself by the rebels on January 19, 1809 was defeated. Call. Ledger led an army of the East India Company's soldiers through the Arambali Ghat and occupied the forts of Udayagiri and Padmanabhapuram on February 19, 1809. The East India Company army defeated Palliath-Aiken's army in Cochin on February 27, 1809. Palliath-Aiken surrendered to the East India Company and was exiled to Madras and later to Benares. The company defeated forces under Velu Thempidalawa at battles near Nagercoil and Kollam and inflicted heavy casualties on the rebels, following which many of his supporters deserted and went back to their homes. The Maharaja of Travancore, who hitherto had not taken any part in the rebellion openly, now allied with the British and appointed one of Thempi's enemies as his prime minister. The allied East India Company army and the Travancore soldiers camped in Papanamkot, just outside Trivandrum. Velu Thempidalawa now organized a guerrilla struggle against the company, but committed suicide to avoid capture by the Travancore army. After the mutiny of 1805 against Velu Thempidalawa, most of the Nair battalions of Travancore had been disbanded, and after Velu Thempidalawa's uprising, almost all of the remaining Travancore forces were also disbanded, with the East India Company undertaking to serve the king in cases of external and internal aggression.